Yeah, okay, so this started when I was thinking about making some quote unquote simple changes to the to the rural zoning code, and that turned into let's do it in part of recode, so I thought we should get caught up into what's happening with recode at the moment.
Yeah, there's gonna be, I'm here today. You're coming to the meeting on the 10th, I believe.
Yeah.
And you guys invited too if you want to come. And then on the 18th, there's another opportunity for the town committee members to come and learn where we are, what's going on. But I'm going to give you a quick update, and I'm not ready to get myself on that yet. So I brought paper.
We don't think we have anything, yes, so.
I don't see any, but if someone sees attendees become one, please do let me know. I have to let her in.
So, real quick. The recode effort, I gather, has been going on for a couple of years. I'm relatively new to Topsham. I've been here 21 months and I've been on the CPIC committee 6 months. So, yeah, it's jumping right in here. I believe previously your representative was Angela Twitchell, and she has moved on to the Maine land trust world and has no time. So she's no longer on the CPIC committee.
Actually, even before that, it was via.
Last name I had was Angela.
You're like, I don't know.
I don't know.
The convenient thing was Ryan was also a member of this committee at the time, so.
That works.
Yeah, that was great.
So anyway, this recode effort has gone on for a couple of years, and kind of a parallel process with the CPIC folks working on the specific areas of the town, which are on the map, which is. And we're calling that town center. And Topsham Fairmont Road is the commercial mixed use area. And the Park Drive, where the Home Depot and stuff is now called mixed transitional. The light blue at the top, the Hooker area is the light blue at the top, and then a couple of other areas. And that's what the CPIC folks have been working on in the recoding effort. Parallel to that, the planning folks and the staff were working on a general code cleanup of the rest of the town. So parallel effort, and now we are at the point where the parallel efforts have come together, and on the website is the draft revised code, chapter 225, I think it is.
Yeah.
So it's out there if you want to look at. We recently briefed the select board the 2nd of May, and we were at the town meeting on the 22nd of May. We had some handouts, some placards, and kind of an informational kiosk. And where we're headed now is an information push, an educational outreach to the public. Because we hope by May of 2025 to have the warrant and have this voted on, the recoding act voted on. There's a whole series on the second page of this. There's a list of what's happening from now till May of 2025 in general terms. The community forum in June is the 18th of June meeting that I spoke of. And there's a whole series of events that haven't been given exact dates yet, but that's the kind of stuff that we're working on now. That's it in a nutshell. For your effort, we think that it maybe makes sense. And I say maybe makes sense because we're not entirely sure what it is you want to do. So I think what we would like to do in when you come to talk to us is get some answers to questions. Of course, if I can find my questions.
That's on the 10th when Victor's coming to talk.
Victor's coming on the 10th. And then there's a second meeting on the 18th.
Yeah.
It's open, well, it was all the committees, the town committees were invited. I have no idea who's gonna attend. I didn't get that far into what's gonna happen.
It was
We,
pretty widely distributed as far as I
yeah,
can go.
we went to all the committee.
I got it out there.
So, and that's important.
Yeah.
I mean, you're asking people to vote on something, and it's hard to do if you don't, if you're a conscientious person and you don't know what it is, that you vote on. So, big educational effort coming, but for what you guys are talking about, we just like more information.
Yeah.
I assume,
I actually have something I prepared,
good,
for you guys, so I can. give you
I
some-
assume we're talking about this. R3,
Well, yeah,
this is the current fishing map.
is that the whole R3 year?
That's
Yeah,
R3.
It looks kind of squashed, but yes, yeah, so I'm
Okay.
talking about pretty much everything
In
out,
Okay.
yeah, it's not.
That's what I thought, but we're just trying to orient ourselves.
But, anyway, yeah, there are a couple different strategies. One of them is, there are, within this R3 area, there are some focus areas for conservation. Pretty much this whole Muddy River area, this whole area around the Cat Hands, which includes this, I'm sorry, Muddy River is here, Cat Hands area. And this area, and this is basically mostly forest.
These guys pulled the map for.
Oh,
here.
great, yes, okay, yes. And, so yeah, it's, a lot of the land, basically out here, over here, was basically, unfragmented habitat. Basically, there was almost no houses. It's mostly tree growth. And so it's undeveloped, basically, so, the idea is to keep that as it is, as much as possible. That was the idea behind our focus, our natural areas plan. We
Okay,
developed it, 14 years ago.
so that 2008 date on the plan is correct.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
yeah, I guess it was actually adopted 2010, if I remember correctly, at the 2010 town meeting, so.
Do you want me to pull that up, Victor?
Actually,
I've seen it.
not really, but if
I
you
haven't
could,
read the whole thing, but I have.
yeah,
seen it
can
today.
you bring up the document that my proposed changes?
Mhm.
is on? You have that,
Yep, I've got it somewhere.
changes, yeah, there it is.
I'm just gonna check Zoom really, really quickly. No, not there.
So, this explains the background of why we're thinking of doing this, part mostly. We have, the original natural areas plan had some implementation strategy, just like the comprehensive plan did. In terms of, there were some non-regulatory stuff, basically, let's get, a funding source, and there were a couple different options on that for conserving land. Partnering with other, other conservation groups, we've done that, pretty much BTLT and us work pretty closely together. And then there was some zoning changes or changes to our, I guess, I'm not sure exactly how they phrase it, but anyway, basically changes to the zoning code. And those changes involved, basically adding, at the time, the up to R3 was basically, minimum lot size of 1.5 acres. And there were pretty much no restrictions on, it had to be developable property, and then you couldn't put a house in the stream, because of wetland constraints, stuff like that, but there weren't any other constraints on it. They added, instead of, they kept that. And then they decided as an option to add 2 other possibilities. One of them was a large lot subdivision, which meant that the lot sizes had to be, originally, they were supposed to be 10 acres. I looked at the zoning code and they're now 6.88 acres, 6.89 acres. I'm not sure why that number came about, but somebody changed it at some point. Any rate, and the other option was what we call an open space subdivision, which was cluster the housing on part of the development and then leave space open, and it had to be developable space, it was open. And it also had to be connected or somehow enhance existing open space. It couldn't just be in the middle, you couldn't just build houses around
Right,
a circle
right.
and put the open space in the middle. It had to be connected in some way to
Okay.
open space. And what's happened basically over the last 14 years is that people built the 1.5 acre minimum, well, traditional subdivisions.
Mhm.
There are no, I don't think there are any large lot subdivisions. Most of the cases have been in the rural area, have been people taking a lot, subdividing their existing
Right.
40 acres or 20 acres that they haven't, putting a house lot in at 1.5 acres for their son, a relative of some kind. Which is actually technically not a subdivision.
Yeah, that's not,
If they do it, once every 5 years.
no, it's not a subdivision, even if it's a kid or a relative. So you can do it as much as you want.
Oh, really? As frequently as?
Well, maybe not as
I
frequently,
thought
but
it was every 5 years.
it's got the relative,
You
the
still
5
have to keep
years.
it under- well,
yeah.
yes,
Yeah, the
lots, but
exemptions,
you
and then
have
there's
to
the
still
5
keep it
years.
Under 3
Yeah.
divisions for 5 years,
Oh,
but I
3 to
don't
3.
know
Okay.
No, no,
how
it's-
many you can exempt at once.
Yeah, just that the relative like adds another level of exemption to it. I
Yeah,
can't say exactly.
Yeah, anyway, so, that's part of what's been happening there. The other thing that's been happening is we've had some basically just regular subdivisions, and, we haven't had any open space, we haven't had really any large lot subdivisions. Except when the split happened to be a large lot because of natural constraints, couldn't put that, so, it's basically not working. It's basically where it comes down to.
So we're losing
We're
the rural land.
Yeah,
basically.
it slowly,
Okay.
but at the development pressures we're seeing now, it may not be slow for very long. And so, I think it's, at some point, we've got the comprehensive plan was saying, hey, we need to do something about this.
Mhm.
And so my approach would be, there are 2 possibilities, and if we could, let's scroll down just a little bit. See, where was it? It's, I didn't actually make it a bullet list. Yeah, okay, so it's the last paragraph, but it's buried in the paragraph, so sorry. The rest of it's all explanation. So one of the possibilities would be to just remove the option of a 1.5 acre subdivision. And require either open space subdivision or a large lot subdivision. There are many towns that do that now. Rural ones like us, Poland, Bridgeton, and a few others like that basically, they just don't offer, a traditional subdivision in the rural, what they want, the areas that they want to check. And the other option would be, and either in combination with, or maybe a substitute, would be what we call a habitat mitigation fee. We did this for solar developments. People were thinking about taking 40 acres and putting solar panels on it. We thought, whoa, if they put that in the rural zone, if they put that in our, habitat zones or, that we want to conserve, that's going to be really disruptive. They have to put a fence around it. So any, national electric code standard.
Right.
We made them give 6 inches. That was the highest that we could get above the ground. So that, at least small animals could get in and out, but it's really not, it basically makes it, unusable for half the habitat life, animal life out there. So, and so we said, what can we do to sort of recoup that in a sense? If it's going to happen, what can we do? And we came up with this habitat mitigation fee. Basically, it says if you're going to take this habitat, you're going to pay us some money. And we based it on the square footage of the panels. So because, and rather than the size of the lot, we don't care how big the lot is necessarily, but it's easy to measure this square foot of the panels. And so that would basically, that money would go into a special fund that would be used to buy additional other land.
To replace the land.
Kind of at least, or permanently protect land that maybe is a wood lot now and could be turned into a house lot if people were willing to pay the fee. Pay the.
Okay, yeah.
So, that's,
So this is what we wanna do.
yeah, those are my thoughts, and so that's what I want to bring, I wanted to workshop it, my thought was to workshop with the planning board, but I guess maybe I'll workshop it with the CPIC instead. And just, get their ideas.
What do you think?
I spoke with the chair of the planning board and the town manager, and we thought that since Recode, we don't want to muddy the waters since Recode is going through, so we felt like the appropriate place to bring this up was with Recode.
If we can get it
Yeah,
in the thing.
And so,
And when we say subdivisions, we are talking about actual like 3-lot subdivisions, not somebody. I'm just making sure I understand what you mean by subdivisions versus legally subdivisions.
yeah, we can't call it a subdivision if it's not.
Right, well, but his example
Yeah.
is not, so that's why I wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
What he's saying. And as an
Mhm.
owner who has a 3-acre lot, I wanna make sure you're not thinking it's I'm just making
Yeah, no,
sure
no, no.
you're saying subdivision.
no, and actually, that's one of the reasons for maybe doing both of these, because there is the question of, like, the subdivision out at the end of 201. It's not necessarily in our high value habitat, it's in a medium value or something like that, or it may not be.
I don't think it's actually in anything.
I
I
think
looked at it
it's-
at one point.
It's right off. of 201,
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's it's 10, 11 lots, I think,
Yeah, something like that.
and, it's a traditional 1.5 acre subdivision, and it's, the very edge of town, it's gonna cost us money. From here on out, it's gonna cost us money, more, you have to go out there to get the school, to get the school kids, you have to plow it, you have to replace the culverts, there, and it's just, I know there's only 10 lots on this, 20 acre or something like that, acre parcel, and so it's not gonna generate the revenue that, it's gonna pay for itself. So that's kind of solves that, sort of helps with that problem. The other problem is that just like somebody who has an acre and wants to subdivide it, but they happen to be in high value habitat. And it's not the 3-acre lots that I'm worried about, it's the 10 acre, the 20 acre, or whatever that they divide in half or something like that. That does fragment the habitat quite a bit. And so there may be a habitat mitigation fee, which would help with that. So anyway, those are my
Okay.
thoughts, and I'm welcome to, those were my thoughts, so I actually, if Audie or Angie had.
So you're talking about dividing versus subdivision, I thought subdivision had to be 3. and 5
Yeah, I
acres.
think so.
Yeah, it's be three or more.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's, sorry. So I work for the Land Use Planning Commission in Augusta, so like land
And I'm not a
division
planner.
history is like a whole, like. It's the bane of my existence.
Yeah,
So I
and
know just enough to be like, what exactly are your parameters?
Yeah.
Because.
And I'm not a planner, so I
I
slipped
get-
in the wrong
yeah.
term here and there, so.
Well, yeah, I guess, so the
I'm not a
open,
planner.
the open space subdivision, the large lot subdivisions, those are subdivision types that you'd go through, our subdivision ordinance. If we're talking about dividing, then that has to be just lot, that has to apply to everyone. You can't catch someone under division that isn't part of subdivision.
Right, so that's where I was
Yeah.
getting
So these would have to be developers coming and saying, I want to do a subdivision.
touched. But your second example of somebody who had a 10-acre lot and wanted to split it into 2 is not a subdivision.
No,
Okay,
But
that's where I'm just like hearing
Yeah.
the,
but then. but
That's the
yeah,
point of the habitat mitigation fee you're suggesting is so that that catches everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that catches the, only, well, not everyone, but everybody in our high value habitat. area.
Yes, I mean, but it's
Because, I mean,
all lots, not just
You know,
subdivision.
existing developments that are off at the edge of that, doesn't matter if they subdivide it, really, I mean, Audie's lot is not gonna. It's not gonna subdivide, gonna cause any fragmentation of habitat necessarily, but there are lots of people who have, woodlots and stuff like that, who could easily, cut off and make a few acres and put a house on it, so.
Or decide they want to sell it.
Well,
Or,
that,
for
yeah,
cash.
yeah,
And then the buyer
has to pay the.
wants to build,
Oh, well, that's
whatever
true,
on it.
that's true, but they also have to pay the, what's it called, the fee for when you turn a woodlot, when you're no longer a woodlot. There's a fairly substantial fee, so I'm not super worried about that, but it could, if housing prices and land prices get high enough. That may not be enough to discourage them, so yeah, so anyway,
okay,
those are the thoughts.
and in your email, you said you've been working on this thinking about this for a couple of years and we'd run
Well,
into
What we,
stops or diversions.
what we wanted to do was actually go through all this, the natural areas, revise our natural areas.
Mhm.
Just make sure that the maps and information we have in it is correct, it's up to date. Then go out to the public and say, hey, look, this is what we've got, what do you think, you know, what's valuable to you now? Because a lot of the natural areas plan was based on community input.
Mhm.
It was what people thought of
Right.
these things. There's habitat value here, there's, you know, wetlands, there's, you know, traditional farming, you know, there's all of these major,
Right.
you know, maps that we developed, and we kind of overlaid them and said, okay, which one's more important than this, you know, and so that was based on, so it's based on community input as to
Mhm.
where those areas are. And so it would be useful maybe to go back and say, you know, one of the things we could add to the analysis that we have essentially is a build out analysis, which we hope we might be able to get that anyway. And that is basically, what happens if we actually follow the existing zoning code? What's it gonna look like? And then we start putting houses everywhere, you know, and it's like people say, oh, my. So, you know, those are the kind of things that we
Right,
could add to
right.
it. And it would be nice to go through a public process for that, and maybe we will, but it's not gonna be anywhere. That,
Okay,
we didn't have, basically between the planning department not having time or staff to handle it. You know, not getting resources allocated from, you know, the town to hire a consultant,
Okay.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That has not happened.
okay.
And we're now, what, 5 years from the comprehensive plan, which one of the implementation items was to update the natural areas plan.
Yeah.
We wait too much longer, we'll be on the next comp plan, so.
Okay.
We're trying to, you know, have something happen before, it gets through it, basically.
So assuming that we were able to do this, who are the stakeholders that would have to buy in on it?
Well.
I mean, I'm thinking obviously the landowners.
Yeah, well, the people who show up at town meeting. And based on the last town meeting, not very many people.
But a strong contingent that is questionable on open space.
Yeah, there is. So and that was that's one of the reasons why there were 3 options in the original implementation plan, was that we didn't get buy-in from some of the large landowners. There were a couple of them that were pretty vocal, and I sat through the CPIC meetings back then trying to get, so, that, you know, they didn't, you can't tell me what to do with my land, so that's why the original subdivision is still there. And, but the town has changed substantially since. I mean, people.
Sure.
Moved in. I think that everybody but me here is relatively new in town compared to that. So, you know, it's a different subset, and so that's one of the reasons why. But who needs buy-in? I think we need the whole town to buy in a sense.
Okay.
We need to get the people who care about open space as well as the people who own it, involved. And actually, there are, you know, some of the people that I know of who have, you know, large plots do not want to divide it, value the fact that it's open, you know, and want to keep it that way as long as they possibly, financially, as long as they possibly can. Usually it's financial that causes
Right.
a change. They, you know, get old, don't have a retirement, you know, that they need, their kids don't want it anymore, blah, 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 you know, it's just, so those are the kind of things. And those are, anyway, I'm good.
It's helpful. It's helpful.
So I actually think it was important and interesting how you brought like buy-in, right? We want people to look at this and say, yes, good idea. We want this in our plans. We want this in our ordinance. And so I think one of the things that we want to consider for buy-in is like carrot versus stick, right? So
Yeah.
are we giving are we offering people more choice and more things, or are we kind of constricting them a little bit more, and there's like a kind of balance to that, and how are they going to view it in terms of governance?
Well, the open space subdivision actually is a carrot.
Yes.
Because it allows them higher density,
Well,
a little bit higher density.
that was actually the thought, and then I actually took a look at it, And I did the math, I was like, okay, if I'm in R3 and I have a 50-acre lot, right? And I'm a developer and I'm just like, I have this piece of land and I want to develop it. So what can I do with it? And they say, here are your options. You can do open space or you can do standard. And if you were to do the open space subdivision with a 50-acre lot, you could get 31 lots on your land. If you do the standard, you can get 33 lots. So by not choosing to do open space,
But you have to build more road.
you do have to build more roads
That's expensive.
potentially.
That's very expensive for the developers.
That's true. That is true.
Especially in
that's
the
a good
rural
point.
area, because you're talking about culverts and streams and stuff that you're gonna have to cross.
That's
There's
true.
Very few places where that is gonna happen.
So if you can do like smaller lots, then at least you can build less
Build
road to
less
it.
road to it, right.
And so I think that that's a good point. But I almost wonder if there's a way that we could make, or if we should consider whether we want to make the open space subdivision something that's more attractive. Yeah,
That's
because-
also possible.
yeah.
My thought was,
Oh, I
let's
agree.
do a little tweak
Yeah.
rather than, but if we're gonna do overhauls, that would be great. That would be the direction I would go too.
Right.
In fact, well, this isn't so much a carrot, but I have, at the last, Maine Association of Conservation Commissions meetings, I actually asked the conservation commissions that were there what their open space ordinances were like. Almost all of them had 50% of the land that you conserve. And most of them required rural zoning to be open space, or at least the developers had to come in with an open space plan first and justify why they couldn't do it versus a standard subdivision. I think there was, I forget which town had that, but anyway, so, anyway, those are the,
I think that makes sense.
and I don't know, and the value of the open space subdivision too for the town is that basically it retains the rural character in some parts of the town and recreational opportunities. Because right now, when you get a traditional subdivision, you pretty much cut off trails, ATV folks that have nightmares over subdivisions that come in because they're like, oh my gosh, in my neighborhood, they have to go up a hill, up a sandy hill, and then back and then down again in order to get around a lot that the developer didn't, that the buyer didn't particularly want. And, it's just crazy stuff like that. It's just,
No, I think the open space subdivisions can often those can be the most appealing. They can kind of be in everyone's, right? You get valuable lands that is set aside to stay that way, and then you can still get ideally either the same amount of lots or slightly more. So you're not really giving up conservation or housing. It's like you still get both. It's just we just want to make developers want to take that one.
yeah.
Right?
And the minimum lot size, I think, was developed on the fact that, that's what we were using elsewhere for R2 for septic. Well, and all these properties have to be septic, wells, dug wells and septic. But if we had an option for, essentially combined septic or combined wells or something like that, or common well, maybe that could save them some money. I don't know. I'm not a developer. I'm just throwing these things out. But, that could be a way to, if, in that case, you might be able to create even smaller lots, allow smaller lots. But since they're connected to the open space in general, it's not gonna feel like it's crowded.
I'm not at all planner, I have no idea, and this is more of, my mind is always
Yeah.
the stick. So sorry, I'm not, I always, I don't know about carrots, so leave that to you guys. But what about if they don't want to get rid of the traditional, what about trying to disincentivize the extra roadway that the traditional requires by open space, you don't have to, but if you do traditional and it is over, you have to add more roadway, there's another fee or something. I don't know. That's just fine.
Yeah,
What you lose there though is buy-in, because they're gonna be like.
Yeah.
It's better if you can make it win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Angela?
I think it's a fabulous idea. I'm just looking at the map and figuring out how much area this actually affects. It's really substantial.
It
Yep.
is. We've
And
got,
so that's why I have to wonder who's going to be weighing in on this, and if it's just the people that feel like showing up at that one meeting, it's great, but it seems like getting buy-in is going to be, should be a bigger effort, because it's
How
going to affect a
much?
lot of people.
How much of the area is actually developable? Like, is there a lot of, I know there was a
that's,
big,
about-
large wetland complex that they we're gonna put the sidewalk.
yeah, for the
Thing
solar.
around behind my house, so like, how much is
I think
actually
if we get
developed?
the.
Yeah, is that known?
Well, it's hard to say on the, because each lot, I mean, there's just,
Yeah.
there are little details on every lot.
Yeah,
But in general, there, I think, actually, if you bring up the wetlands, layer, or whatever it's called. Yeah. Shoreline zoning.
That's probably what you're thinking of,
Yeah, that's the Cathans,
Yeah.
basically, that's the Cathans.
and this is the muddy.
And that's the muddy, and there is some land out here. But, and that's I think this is roughly where that,
Sorry.
oh, actually, that's not it, I think, this is where,
yeah,
near your house, right?
yeah.
And
Just
so,
remember there's a lot of flat. ones.
yeah. So, but, you know, a lot of this area is.
Yeah, that,
Could potentially be developable, I mean, on a large scale now, you know. When you get down there, you look at the,
Right.
but yeah, I mean. It's about, I mean, I don't know, this. I think it's somewhere in our natural use plan or someplace, they, you know, they drew basically a boundary around this and said, well, that's about 50,000 acres. So that's-
is it voted above us?
This is Bowden.
That's Bowden and
It's
that's
Bowden, yeah.
What is,
This is
I mean,
Lisbon
this is
Falls.
totally a total aside, but what does Bowden have for their? Do we know what that
That's,
second half of their,
I don't think it's, I don't know how it's set up in their
I'm
zone.
gonna guess not a lot of restriction
There's
based
not a
on
lot.
what I know of Bowden's.
Yeah, they
municipal.
don't really, but it is still pretty much unfragmented. There's very little in there.
I know this because when the shooter thing happened,
Yes.
we realized, I was like, oh my god, behind my house to his parents' house, nothing but undeveloped woods.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, I know.
So
I
it was
know.
a big tract of like nothing back there.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
what is it?
So
It's, what's this? Is this a,
Oh, that's,
oh, that's Ward
that's
Road.
Ward Road, but actually it ends there. I mean, turns into a dirt.
And is this,
There's one house somewhere out here. I can't, we'd have to dig in, but there's a house somewhere in here. And.
oh, that's a paper road, isn't it? Or a driveway or something?
Oh,
here.
this?
Oh,
Oh, no,
okay.
that's Merle, that's,
Oh,
Meadow.
ah, yes.
no, this is east.
That's where we were, right?
West Merle Road,
And this is
And
the
then-
east.
East Merle Road, but this is also just a dirt road.
Yeah, okay.
If that, the last time I was out there, at the end here, it, you know, it looked like nobody had been down it for months,
Mhm.
or years. Because it wasn't drivable. So, yeah, those are big parcels, exactly, yeah. And you know, somebody could say, okay, I want to subdivide this thing. Right in the middle of, you know, the whole area, that's just like. So, anyway. Fortunately, Scott, Merle Farm, he's really not interested in selling to the developer. Him, he really does not want to sell to the developer. But then again, I don't know, you can suspect.
Things can change.
Yeah, well, if you saw his house and, you'd realize he doesn't have a whole lot. So he may not have much choice.
Well, I'm happy to weigh in with a planning perspective if you guys want that, or you can keep discussing.
This is all I want to do. I just wanted to get everybody.
Yeah,
Everybody's behind it, and I'll go to the secret meeting. Talk to them, and see.
Say all this again.
Yes, yeah, well, I'll send you this document that
Okay.
I've worked on.
So we're on
It's
share
just,
it with the rest of them.
it's just an introductory, but,
Can I say back what I think you're saying, so I should make sure I'm understanding your thought process? So you're saying you would like to see it move in the R3 away from having the traditional subdivision and moving into having either open space subdivisions or this habitat mitigation fee on any development. So those are like two kind of paths, or are they like co-paths together happening at the same time? So that you cover subdivisions and regular divisions.
Also, if I had my way, I'd have both, but I may not, so I don't know. But either one or both would be great. And so,
I always have to say that for planning.
Oh, no,
because I
fine.
don't-
yeah,
My
and
permanent brain doesn't.
I'm leaving it very vague as to what the habitat mitigation fee is, how you calculate it, because there are hundreds, there are lots of ways we could do it, and we did it with solar panels based on, what was covered, and other impervious areas. If we did that for housing development, it really wouldn't be very much. So we want to do something closer to, the impacted area. You could say the house and lawns or something like that, because if people are gonna cut down the trees and put up grass, that's pretty much not useful habitat for much else. Few birds. So I don't know. That's to be discussed, but we'd have to run the numbers. What we did with the solar development was we said, okay, how much would 20 acres of develop, how many solar panels would there be? What would that cost? We actually asked a couple of solar developers who were looking at buying, doing something in town, and they said, oh, yeah, that's fine. That's what we would have to pay in Massachusetts. So that's less than we'd have to pay in Massachusetts, so it's fine. They were happy. So anyway, yeah.
So,
And it's not insignificant either. It's, the one that, Audie's talking about, it's 150 acres. It's like almost 3/4 of a mile. Could buy some nice property. So, and it's if that ever goes through.
so my concern with something like this would be the reaction that we got at town meeting to a very small wording change.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That is in my mind as we discuss
But
this.
you have to remember too, is that after all of that, it's like maybe 3 or 4 people voted.
No, I know, and I understand that, but
Yeah.
it's just a consideration. I'm
Yeah,
not saying,
yeah.
oh, that happened, shut it down.
Yeah.
I think something, to me, Josh and I were talking about open space subdivision earlier today. And Josh has, experience working on the other side of it for a developer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Landscape architect.
yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So he had some good thoughts on that, and kind of looking at those numbers, I understand you're saying they don't have to build as much road, but if you're just doing an initial look, seeing that you can build 2 less lots is not great. So to me, that seems like the area that probably is the most ripe for making it enticing, because I know that things that are punitive are going to be a lot less popular, and Recode is really large, and Recode would probably be hesitant to take on something that might really rile people up, because there's already plenty of things in there that might rile people up.
That's why I was hoping to do this separate process, but that's okay.
The thing that concerns me is the timelines.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Code is set for next year,
Yep.
a year from now.
Yeah.
And it took them several years and a lot of meetings and public outreach and meetings with the public over those several years to get to this point. And you're gonna have to do that same thing to get the buy-in.
Yeah, I'll say that part of the reason it was recommended towards Recode is when Victor initially emailed me, he did suggest also a lot minimum that was a lot higher than what we currently have. And that was kind of, it was smaller changes. So we thought, bring it to Recode because we're doing this work. As you've talked more about it and I understand more of it and reading your document, I think I'm seeing how this fits more in with like an open space subdivision alteration that is maybe dovetailed in with your natural areas plan update, which in my mind is still planned for after the climate action plan.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because I think that fits nicely, and we'll probably have more time. I mean, Recode is taking up a lot of planning's time right now. It's a big project. But at the time that it was kind of being suggested towards that, it was less. I think still talking to them was a good idea. This is just my thoughts as the planning department. I don't control these things or anything. But that we're not enticing people to do this. It's really hard to do an open space subdivision. You have to get a commitment from a conservation organization, or it has to be abutting to other stuff. You know, that's difficult. What if there is nothing abutting to it? Are we saying you can't do an open space subdivision and preserve 30% of your lot?
Or you could do it open space, I mean, a large lot something, but anyway, yeah.
I don't think anyone wants to do that.
It's agree to do less lots.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
You're trying to make money, which.
there's like a sweet spot for in planning, there's a sweet spot for lot size, and
Yeah.
if
Well,
it's too
Chris,
big,
the other part of my argument, which I've gone into, but I do want to stop in, which is, it's really gonna cost us money. We do allow this, but the whole town is gonna be paying for that developer to get his money out of it.
I don't disagree with you,
Yeah,
but
that's what I mean.
it's what do you have, Pam's right, you have to get the buy-in for
Yeah.
it, you know, and if we want to make these changes to make housing easier in the rural district while adding more amenities and preserving rural character, that's a much easier sell than
Yeah.
we're saying that you can't do this.
Yeah,
And that's just my opinion as someone who's got a little experience with marketing too.
You tell somebody you can't, and they just immediately think it is,
yeah,
and shut down, and you're done. So you have to be the deterrent. You really have to be the deterrent. However, one does that with this stuff.
Mhm.
Not my area of expertise by any stretch of the
Yeah.
imagination.
yeah,
But I have been to a couple of school board meetings, and I was at the last town meeting. And yeah, there are people who are going to be vocally anti against whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
So you have to try to
yeah,
bring them in and try to build enough good feelings among the other people that they can overcome the naysayers.
and that's kind of what happened. I mean, in the sense, a few people who basically stood up and said, you know, this is, anyway,
Yeah, I was thinking that Fix It was gonna be the only one that didn't pass of the night.
the simple thing.
Yeah. And they, you know, they got onto the other aspect of it, which just, I do agree with you guys that there's the potential for a lot of this rural area to be lost, and that's a concern, and I think I've shown that, when we get subdivisions in, I want your guys' opinion and thoughts on how we can make them work. And that to me, the open space subdivision as is a little bit strange in our ordinance because it's under 225 for some reason, and not subdivision. Completely understand that one.
Yeah, I have that problem too. I keep on going under.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, wait, it's not here.
Yeah.
It's not here. I
Yeah.
don't know why either.
Yeah, so I understand that, and I think, obviously things could happen. My understanding from developers right now is, I know Eagle River's going through, but I'm getting a sense of cooling on things because of how high interest rates are right now. I've had some projects kind of like, it's hard for me to do something with that. So I'm not saying, oh, we're fixed, nothing's gonna happen, but it's not the mad dash of 4 years ago.
Yeah,
And that, my feeling about things is things should be done right, so that, if you guys want to take on the effort of altering the open space subdivision ordinance, maybe in conjunction with a natural areas plan update, that's something I think as a planning department, we could certainly get behind, and Josh is going to be your staffer. This might be my last meeting with you for a little while. I'll just have to show him how to use Zoom. Because I did forget to do that. And I think this is a project that would be great to work on. I have Recode, and I'll probably need to pull him onto the climate action plan since I've got 2 projects right now.
yeah,
But that, it's not a no, it's just,
yeah, but pretty much the only thing, I mean, I think we probably can do on the natural areas plan at this point is identify funding sources.
mhm,
And before,
Yep.
that deadline, so it's not like there's a big lift right now,
mhm,
for that. And we probably have to revisit it, but we kind of have an RFP already, so, I mean, we know what we want, but now it's just a question of actually funding it, getting a consultant. But yeah, so, I don't know, but I mean, I guess I'll explore this with CPIC, just see what the reaction is there. See if there are some things we can do, that habitat mitigation fee is not a huge thing, and But anyway, I don't know.
Okay.
We can explore that. See how that is.
I would look into like how, like. What ways, like looking at the open space subdivision, like what ways you guys think maybe we could make. It. More attractive and as a place to start, right? Like maybe instead of. The lots being 75% the lot area. Maybe we move it down to 65 or 50% the original, who knows, maybe, but maybe if we can tweak the open space subdivision to just make it a more valuable option, maybe that'd be a good.
Yeah, and I don't know why we didn't do that initially. So, I mean, it might have something to do with infiltration rates, you know, for the, septic, et cetera. I don't know, but,
Yeah, and usually,
and I'm not, I mean, I wish, Rod was here because, you know, he worked on that extensively back when we first came up with it, and so, and he knows what all the flaws were because he ran through it with several developers and like figured out. And basically, it came into the same thing. It wasn't quite enough of an incentive there to actually, you know, get them to switch to that. And so, yeah, I mean, but most of the things that he dealt with, that we were dealing with at the time were like an R2 or the fringes of R3. They really weren't in this larger, they were smaller developments. So,
What about instead of like, and probably the answer is no, because there's no carrot for it, but. What about like a habitat mitigation fee unless they have a wildlife corridor? Or something like that.
oh, unless they provide for a
Yeah.
card, yeah.
Like, That's what subdivisions in the UT do, they have mandatory wildlife corridors.
I think all these things would be really great to pull together into like, you know, a memo or report, you know, that we've looked at these, this is where it's done.
Yeah,
This is what it could mean
yeah,
for Topsham, you know, just because it, you know, the open space subdivision isn't being used. I don't know of, do you know of any? It hasn't been
well,
used.
the only one that.
Oh, Mallet Woods.
No, that was not where we wanted an open space subdivision.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
DEP hadn't pulled out at the last minute, we wouldn't have the conservation use, we wouldn't be managing those.
yeah.
So, yeah, no, it hasn't been used, that was the only one.
Yeah, so there's just, you know, that it hasn't been used, there's something here to be altered, and, you know, this is your guys' kind of area of concern that, you know. I think that's a good area to go in, direction, not area, direction.
And you said there was some other municipalities that have 50% open space required.
50 to 70, yeah.
So have there actually been developments built in those areas with that
Yeah.
requirement?
Yeah,
And what incentives
I
were?
think,
Yeah, I think that would be
Yeah.
all really good information to have.
it was Falmouth, or Freeport had one, that was really substantial, I'll have to go back and look. It, you know, but again, it was a, you know, 30, 50 lot subdivision, so it was pretty big land area that was dealing with. And they actually did it in a way that protected the viewshed.
Mhm.
So, you know, if you drive by the property, you can kind of see that their house is there, but they're kind of in the trees, and there's, you know, there was a farm, or there was part of a farm field there, so, you know, farm field's still there, and stuff like that. Anyway, so, it was really well done, but, but there aren't, I don't think there are a ton of them. Yeah, but I'll actually, I'll try to dig up some of the examples, I think. Fred Snow might have some off the top of his head. And, anyway, yeah, I'll try to come up with them. I've seen them in presentations here and there, but I, you know, don't have my.
Yeah, to me, it just seems better if rather than trying to get rid of traditional subdivision, we just make the open space subdivision attractive enough that no
Yeah.
one wants to do it.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Except for in certain instances where maybe you can't have the open space and, you know, it's like a 3-lot subdivision or something and it's going to be good, but,
yeah,
you know, because that's the issue with completely getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Is that 1 in 50 chance when, oh shoot, this would have been correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, the next thing on the agenda, um. So, yeah, actually, well, so there was one thing. Oh, you brought up, habitat corridors, yes. Just so I can remember. Um. So the next thing on the agenda was just to, review we did a site walk of the property that we have actually. Property out. Off of near the Merle. Merle Farm, yes, Merle Farm, and, we actually found another, Shane and I went out, when, what, April or something? Found, a vernal pool, I don't know, did you see the picture? Yeah, okay, great. And, there was significant, there was, I forget, 21 full days. Whatever all the egg mass, I don't know how, Audie, you can figure out how to count mass. To me, they look like there were a lot more than 20 eggs in it, but they, it's kind of, I don't know how you do it, so.
Don't look at me.
But anyway, yeah, there was some significant, and then, when we went out in May, maybe, we found another pool further down that we had not seen before, and there was significant. So, and then, basically the purpose of going out there was just to make sure that, it wasn't, people weren't cutting trees and, running ATVs around, and, we didn't see any of that. But also, it doesn't look like, I don't know if you saw the pictures of the trees, they're really, it isn't a mature forest at all. And it's gonna be a while before it becomes one. So, I don't know, Chris is talking about, I think we should come back to this, not Chris is, but he's talking about maybe doing some selective cuts or something to try to improve it. And that's what we talked about 10 years ago, but we ended up focusing on the rec field, the rec fields, but also the town transfer station forest, which we did do a selective cut on. And so actually it's growing back nicely. So I'll tell you about that. Okay.
It was pretty good, and no, not major invasives.
Yes, that was good too, yeah. There was a trail at one point that led off of the road that we went in. There was a trail that went sort of northwest, I guess, through that property, and I didn't see any evidence of it there. It was pretty noticeable last time I was there. But I think it's grown over, or enough trees have fallen down to cover it. So
We did think it would be a possible good if you could connect it so easily. Like biking area. So you can reach it, there's only a couple wetland areas and little swale.
yeah,
That's it,
yeah, but getting into it without,
would be,
yeah. Scott's probably. So yeah, okay, and so.
I don't bike, so I don't know.
Oh, there's some people who would really love the great trails back there. Oh, you're better. So, I guess the next thing is the summer intern project, and I think this is mostly, I can fill in sky, as to what we were thinking. And so, the idea, Agnes, I think it's,
It's done.
Angus still, thank you. Did this, essentially analysis of, building points.
Well, let me see if I can find that.
Yeah, it's in, if you have the agenda,
Let's just see what you've sent me recently. This one.
it's, yeah. No. We did this really nice story map of, patterns of development in Topsham and, from essentially like, 2010 to 2021 when we did it. And he took building points basically and said, okay, what new, what's the word for, building permits have been taken out since then and sort of plotted them on a map. And this was done, I think, for CPEG initially. So it was like where,
The CPIC asked, mentioned this as an update when they were questioned about intern projects too.
yeah, okay, yeah. So.
I think
yeah,
they might want different things out of it slightly than you
well,
guys
they
do.
do, and this one focuses a lot on like what's happening in the developer or the urban, rural, I'm sorry, what's it called? It's not the development anymore, it's the
Growth area?
growth area, yeah, okay, so, and but I think what we would want is that having that information is great, having that updated too, but also knowing what's happening in the rural area. And also, I don't know if you can do this, but actually, I don't know if it's in this map. I know we talked about it, but if you, each lot, it's so basically it's a lot of points right now, but if you took it and said, okay, what's the impacted area? So if you took the actual, lot area or a radius around the building point, it said in the rural zone, you're really impacting, 500 feet or 1,000 feet around, the house lot. And in the urban zone, it's pretty small, in terms of what you're impacting. So,
Seems like that would be hard to do with pretty good accuracy in the rural areas.
yeah,
When people develop their yards in degrees.
I know,
If you could just get recent aerial imagery and they would look at what area they
A lot of
usually
it.
have been disturbed.
a lot of it's tree covered though, so it's hard to see from aerial,
So it could be a problem.
Also, working with satellite imagery is a whole different skill set, and I'm not sure the intern has that. Quite honestly, I had to take a completely different class on it, and they're really different, honestly, in my opinion. Like,
I wonder if they say it has some good tree that wouldn't require dive into something.
yeah, potentially. It's just working with raster versus polygon is different too. But we can, it doesn't mean no, yeah.
Yeah, well, even if
It's just something to consider, is it's like this is all polygonal data and it's very easy to input,
yeah,
whereas raster is like dot by dot
It's
and
more
yeah, and it has a lot of math involved with it too, to my understanding. And I know they're they were like, oh, I'm really proud of my story map that I made, and I'm just not sure where they're at with like using satellite imagery or raster modeling, because it's just it's a different level.
so yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why it may not be in here, but and if it isn't, that's fine. I think continuing to sort of update the region, but in addition to that, I think adding the scenarios of what happens if we develop this with, traditional 1.5 acre subdivisions, what's it's gonna look like. And then if we do it with you know, open space or a larger lot or something like that, or some other scenario, I don't know which scenario is gonna be best. But sort of extending it beyond existing data, saying, okay, let's imagine what this is gonna be like. And you could do something like, well, we've developed X number of new, there's been X number of new lots developed in the R3 zone in the last decade. So what's that like, you know, if we do that every decade, or actually probably gonna be more like geometric, but anyway, rather than linear, but yeah, so here it is.
So we put a 250-foot buffer around,
Yeah. The building points, conservation focus areas, yeah, so we did 50-foot buffer areas, sorry, yeah. So yeah, that kind of, I mean, it was just a sort of, that's what we do for vernal pools, it was just kind of like just what the heck. And for wetland, you know, so what the heck, let's use that number. That would be useful to, you know, continue. I think it's only, yeah, I think it was only done in the, it was done for the rural zone, was it? Or yes, it is. Oh, there's, I see, they're in paint. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what I was thinking of. I don't think if anybody has any other answers to that.
So you're looking for an update on what has been built and potentially an idea of what it would look like if it was fully developed.
Yeah. And also is I mean, as part of that, before, you know, we mentioned what could be developed, but also what subdivisions are already on the books. What this did not include was it included only existing permits, pool.
Mm-hmm.
So there are subdivisions out there that have not been fully developed yet, that aren't included. So that might be an interim step. So like, okay, let's get the new building points. Let's get, if we build out any existing approved subdivisions in there,
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be a little difficult because they're probably not on any GIS layer yet.
If they're recorded in the registry of deeds, their parcels are accurate.
Okay,
Because I have that issue with a lot that is approved and it's in limbo and stuff.
yeah, okay. And so there's that, and then of course, what could be happening. If
Mhm.
developers wanted to sort of.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this from a GIS perspective, that it's all polygonal and it's mostly using existing data that's easy to pull together. So I think that, you know, something similar to this, if we would probably associate, I haven't used GIS in a few years, but we could probably, you know, take each lot size if we have that on an easy list and, you know, multiply it by whatever the 1.5 is, and we might be able to get an even spread of dots throughout it, but clustering might be difficult. So it might just be easier to shade it or give certain numbers or something. So we can talk about how to
Represent that.
how to represent some, you know,
Yeah.
what growth might look like. I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head,
Yeah.
but I know they were certainly interested in working on this this map, and I know CPIC asked for an update on this as well. So I think that's, yeah.
Recoding to have what the changes could actually.
The update will be easy, yeah, and that might have been part of it, and it's just because this one has like he's using existing parcel data and like E991 addresses to pull those points, and if it's not an existing parcel or address, then you have to manually do it, which is just a lot more work. So I'm trying to keep expectations low because I don't want to overdo it with the intern. I'd rather under promise and over deliver.
what about just instead of having the entire focus area, what about having like a subset, like a focus area closest to the development, their area? Is that okay to do, or would people feel like they were picked on if we pick
Yeah.
the sample area instead of
I
all?
don't know, yeah. You know, we could, it's hard to, yeah, I see what the problem is, that if you don't have the building plans, you have to manually enter them. Which
Yeah.
makes it difficult.
It's I can't remember if there's a way to like associate a number and like do even points like spaced throughout.
Oh.
That's kind of beyond my level, and I think that's probably, so we can look into figuring out some way to try to do that, and they might have more ideas. They've more recently been working with it.
If they can take the developable parcels out there, away from wetlands, stuff
Mhm.
like that, and then just sort of, you're right, sprinkle it with.
Yeah.
With building plans. I mean, it doesn't have to be very accurate, just, but
Yeah,
because we're looking at it at such a grand scale, I mean, it doesn't. I think that will have the effect of, oh, wow.
yeah, I'll look into that, because that would certainly, this is potentially how many houses could go on this lot, because we could use the shoreland map that we have. But yeah, I can't remember if that's a real function or if I'm making that up in my head, because I think it would be a good function. I mean, I'm sure it exists. Also, maybe it's hard to figure out,
Yeah.
Especially if there's a really high habitat value,
Yeah,
where there would be a greater impact of
Yeah.
development.
yeah,
That might be
I think we should.
a little more impactful.
Yeah.
I
if you
think
had
this
to-
is in,
If you had to do anything that was manual, I think I would focus on our focus areas rather than the whole R3.
you should have a GI, there should be GIS stuff for that though, right? Because it was created in
Yes,
GIS.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we-
Oh, I see,
We're doing
yes,
those
yes,
out.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah, we have the polygon
Okay.
of all the property, of all the parcels that are in the dogwood habitat, but if we then say take all of those that potentially, they're not wet or whatever.
yeah, maybe if we have to do it manually, we choose wherever the largest contiguous high
Yeah.
priority area is and do
those
it
as
there.
examples,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like points all over it or something like that,
Yeah.
And I like the 250 feet because
So what was the 250 feet used for? Just to say like, oh, if this is a point, like that's probably about how much got actually developed.
yeah,
Okay,
By putting the buffer, then it was able to get some rough neighbors.
yeah,
that
yeah,
was-
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
My bad.
Is the intern a college student? or-
Yes.
So, are they a senior or
I believe they're a junior about to be a senior. I think so. Yeah, I'm gonna see them tomorrow. They're starting on Friday. So just missed this meeting, unfortunately. Yeah.
is it?
ISSIE. It's S ISSIE. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but they're certainly interested in this, and I just don't want to be like, oh yeah, they're gonna do this and they're gonna do that. And then it's like, oh, we can't,
Yeah.
technically do that.
Get on
So,
the way.
yeah, I'd rather be like, okay, this is the idea, like maybe we can do this.
I mean, as much as they want to dive into it, then.
Like, don't hold back.
Right, perfect, yeah, might be that they just say, hey, I can actually do X, Y, Z.
Exactly. They might be like, oh, that's really easy. What?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes, as I said, I'm under promising.
Yeah. Okay. But you get the idea.
Yeah, I do. That we want to, so basically it's, we want an update since this was last done of what has actually been built. And then we would really like to see, some way, an idea of what development in the, rural zone R3 would look like if it's,
Under
yeah.
circumstances,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes, I mean, depending on how much,
Yeah.
how much manual, like, I mean, if nothing else, I would do the 1.5 acre. I would just do this sort of.
Yeah.
Just show what that's gonna look like.
Yeah.
That would be. I think
That's what the current zoning is. We're not
Yep.
assuming something that
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just, this is what development,
Yeah.
and if that's easy to do, where, you can just marry the like lot size to a number and get out points. We can probably do it for R2 as well. I'm not sure I would do it beyond that because those zones are so small,
Yeah,
but those two are the
yeah,
two that I would be like, okay, that could be good for, because those are the more, because some of R2 isn't developed still, not as much, but some of it.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think they'll be certainly interested. I'm not exactly sure of the technical capabilities, so I wanna.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Great.
Awesome.
I'm excited to get something. And so in the last 15 minutes or so, I guess, I don't have a whole lot of updates.
Did you guys want to talk about Eagle River tonight?
Oh, right, that's what it was. I wondered there was something else there. Did, I guess Sky sent around the revised maps or subdivision plans.
Yeah, so basically they're suggesting an Esplanade walkway, I think around,
Go down to like C.
yeah, I had to email Joe to figure out which one it was.
I scrolled through them all just to figure out which one that.
C11.
So how is an esplanade different than a sidewalk?
I don't know.
It has the
What
grass.
defines-
It has the grass between the road and the sidewalk, so it's safer.
It's what I would have considered a traditional, I mean, you know, tree lawn, basically.
Yeah, the Esplanade is the grass, basically. You have the Esplanade and.
Yeah,
then you have
so you can see it here,
Yeah.
and let's see, we can,
So this is the grassy or.
Small green button.
so it's just, you know, it's just a little walking circle.
It removes you from the road a little bit.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean, that it's nice, it's just that,
And it's on the interior.
it's on the interior, that was, yeah, that's what I thought, I was like, wait a second, that doesn't get you anywhere except around in the circle, which is, I mean, it's actually nice in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not everything, I mean,
Well, the hard part was it already is not,
yeah.
if it went out, it's just, and does it go out? 'Cause it looks like it does.
No.
It doesn't go anywhere. So, I mean, if they crossed, if they basically were able to cross the road here maybe or something, they could go out the I'm not Strawberry, what's the other one?
Raspberry,
Lane.
this is strawberry.
Yeah, Raspberry Lane and then connect with the wider shoulders on Raspberry.
I got rid of my
Um,
thing and I should not have done that.
I can see a kid's racetrack. There, right? How fast can you get around?
Yeah.
So I'll just say this,
With your butt.
that, you know, planning board really wanted to
I'd
hear,
rather do it on the sidewalk than on the street.
Yes.
Which is what they do.
planning board asked Conservation Commission to, you know, look at this. So you guys don't have to take this and say as good it is, you know, you can make your suggestion and they can parry it. I just want to say it. I'm not saying like, oh, you know, say whatever you want, like they're suggesting something, but, that I can bring up, I have staff review with them next week. I'll ask, you know, why didn't you extend it out to Raspberry? I know you didn't, you know, that's already built, whatever, don't build the sidewalk there. But
Yeah.
why doesn't it go out? I can ask that question and put that in their mind. So if you'd like to put something in your letter about it, it's in the memo, because all staff review comments go in the memo.
Yeah,
I just find it's just like a funny thing because it can't go anywhere because the existing development didn't take any of that into consideration. So,
well, I mean, this isn't developed. Yeah,
No, they
So-
specifically asked not to put a sidewalk down there
yeah,
for safety reasons, because they're concerned about having a sidewalk connected to 196 and encouraging pedestrian usage of 196, which is understandable. We've had
Yeah.
some really
But
bad
I-
accidents there.
My thought more is actually getting out to Raspberry to get to the other.
Yeah,
Parts of this subdivision, and then to the other the next subdivision, Blueberry Lane. And so, which I'm sure people will do. That's not like they're gonna stay in that circle, so anyway, so anything at all that connects to.
Dennis also requested that there be extra space on that road, that bridge. You can't see it on here. But there's like a culvert or some sort of crossing here, and he asked that they add extra space in case the sidewalk is ever added in the future.
Oh.
So to me, I'm going to question why it's not here, especially because Dennis
Yeah.
requested that. We can't. There's a potential this could be required to have a sidewalk in the future if they add more lots, over, like back over here. They acknowledge that.
the steep slope, wouldn't you say? That's gonna be way more expensive to put.
That's.
And,
Because then they have
and
to-
where is
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
where's the stream or what, like, they don't seem to have.
There's a stream over here.
Right, I'm saying they
Yeah.
don't have, I don't see like, unless the stream's that way.
And you can see that.
No, there's a wetland impact right here.
Yeah, it could be reducing wetland impacts by keeping the slope at 2 to 1
Mm.
to keep it thin and tight and close to the
Right.
road. Whereas if they were to extend it, there may be potentially more wetland impacts.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Um,
And there is a stream over there, so if they're within 75 feet. say
Yes, yeah,
DEP would say, well,
yeah. Okay, well,
Not even DEP, tell them, tell them.
But if they didn't give those reasons, then they should.
I mean, I'll still ask, yeah,
because we're just speculating.
it'll just be, we're asking, we don't know, I'm not telling them.
Tell us the story and why.
yeah, okay, so, should I put that, I should update the letter just to say, we'd like to know.
I think the planning board would also appreciate knowing how you guys feel about this,
Okay.
if this meets how you're feeling, how you feel that this relates to any kind of fees, it's their decision, but they kind of asked
Yeah.
you to do a lot with it.
Yeah.
And so I think that will be really helpful. And then, we have to send stuff by, I gotta pull up my calendar.
Do we know what the total distance is of that?
It might be somewhere. I haven't read it in depth enough to know that off the top of my head. We need to have stuff by the 21st to upload and send to planning board.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you've got time. And so that's when I'll put it on the website and I'll send something to planning board so I think having an updated letter would be, or if this letter stays the same, whatever you guys want to do, just whatever your feelings are.
Well,
I can grasp.
it might not be what you were hoping, and it doesn't really connect, but it's like a positive change from what.
Oh, yeah, this is, I would say this is a positive change. I'm not so sure. I don't know. I'm still thinking it was really.
Is it enough?
Is it enough to, yeah, or even to be, discount on their open space fee.
Did they give us the cost versus, or we were like, well, how much does it cost?
No, they didn't get this, they didn't.
That was requested, wasn't it?
Well, for
It
us.
isn't in their submission?
Well, I actually didn't read the entire thing.
That's fair, Victor. They're long. It might be in there. I would say maybe put in your letter that, all these feelings that you're not, I think it's on an email with a link.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has to be a link because I can't send these files. They're giant. But so to me, what I would say is, put these questions in your letter that, this is how you're feeling, if they can, because they still come back one more time. This is, they haven't done, this is preliminary. They have to do final.
Oh.
Subdivision.
It said final on somewhere.
That's for the site plan, which is actually not going yet. So,
Oh.
and that's just for the multifamily that's like over to
Oh, okay,
the
okay,
side.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is preliminary. This is when the bulk of decisions are made and, considered. But I think that, and I can, actually I can ask for, sorry, sometimes I forget that I can do this. Ask for cost analysis of the Esplanade. So I'll ask for that and try to get that to you guys. Because I think, honestly, they're doing this, the planning board is probably not going to levy the entire fee if they're doing something that's optional, just to be a realist here. But I think, if you can put in there, you think this is worth this percentage of a reduction, that goes a lot farther than saying you shouldn't be any reduction.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So,
Well,
I will.
my personal feeling is I should have a sidewalk in there to begin with. But
yeah, that's another ordinance change that,
Yeah,
we'd have to have that requirement.
yeah.
We are the ordinance, we can't do a whole lot beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we will have something back to that. I just think of the, I don't know, in my dead end street, well, it was a dead end street when it was first built, 2 kids got slowed down by a truck walking to school,
Mhm.
walking to the end of the street to get the school bus. I mean, it's just like, I think it was, they were in a hospital for months. Or serious damage. It's just like, wow. And it's, it was, yes, it was only Brookside at the time, so it's like 10 houses. It's like, oh, there's not gonna be any problem, it's only 10 houses, there's not gonna be that much traffic. Doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. It's just every change is a,
Yeah,
every change is a,
yeah. Anyway. Okay, any other? Any talk on, we're gonna look into, we're gonna look into, existing, water quality, yeah, okay. Okay.
Report back up.
That's okay, just curious. The other thing,
Did you guys get a third party inspector? Did you guys have the wetlands reviewed?
I mean, it's a SLOTA, so.
So, yeah,
I think Drumlin reviewed, honestly, the town peer review and engineer, manages the SLOTA applications.
That comes to that, that's awesome.
He's very,
Thought you did, that's why.
oh yeah, no.
I should have.
We wouldn't be allowed to do it if we didn't do it right. Yeah. I think they determined that it's complete, and I gotta send it off to the state. That's gonna take time, so I don't know when their final goes through, quite honestly.
yeah. Do you know what's happening with the, solar development? Glendale, Richmond.
Oh, Solarized Topsham over on 201? No,
No, the one off of 196.
no, I don't. I've heard that solar developments are really struggling
Yeah,
these days.
yeah. The interconnect fees.
And just that on top of CMP not getting back to them, and then like that there's not enough. I don't know, you know more about solar than I do, but yeah, I've heard that a lot of them are kind of, they got the approval so they could go forward with it, but a lot of them probably won't be built out, is my guess.
Actually, the one, Hunter Farm one is probably never gonna be built.
I have heard that that will not be. Yeah, I mean, I can't say never, but I've heard pretty,
CMP one at 5.1.
yeah, yeah.
It's just like, what? They only have to go down, stretch of Lover's Lane.
Yeah.
I guess they want to,
I was gonna say that the things needed to be upgraded, you know,
yeah,
and that's there.
they want an excuse to update their
Yeah.
substations.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the solar approvals that went through are
Yeah.
probably not gonna happen, quite honestly.
Mhm.
That may be being pessimistic, I may be wrong, you know, that's just an idea that I've gotten hearing from some people that have been working with it, is just, you know, they came through, they got the promise with the land and did the approvals through planning board so they could go further, and then there's something else that's stopping a lot of them.
CMP.
I know it's CMP, there's something specific with it though, yeah.
Yeah, well, they actually, CMP has decided to, instead of looking at each project individually, they're lumping them into groups.
Mm-hmm,
And it's taking them a long time to figure out, you know, what needs to be done for this group here. And then the numbers are coming back, you know, astronomical, and it's like, the developers are all saying, okay, who's gonna pay what part of this thing? You know?
yeah,
So it's, you know, and I'm sure that's all really complicated, so.
I don't think they did what we asked, because it doesn't, like, it would have been in a little thing that, because it did what we asked them to do, to look into that, didn't fit into.
Yeah, we were asking for connectivity between, you know, the various different, existing, housing developments. And I know we
Yeah.
couldn't connect easily to Ivanhoe, but there's no problem connecting to Blueberry. So, but anyway, yeah. They did.
if they ever build beyond Raspberry out towards where Cranberry is listed, that would upgrade the part of Raspberry right here to probably a major road, and you could probably catch them on a sidewalk then. But at this point, you know, with these types of things, you have to.
Yeah.
What can you have the project at hand reasonably do? Because when this first went through, you know, it was a small thing. I don't really know what happened. I wasn't here.
Yeah, well, they said, oh, we'll probably do something. It was just like he's doing with the stuff across the CMP corridor.
Yeah.
He said the same thing before. He said, oh, well, you know, we might do something. I don't know. It's gonna be a while down the road. Let's just worry about these, you know, this one street now. And yeah, and it sort of comes back.
Yeah, I think that they said that they were like, in one of their things, and I at least heard this verbally, but I do think it might have been written somewhere, that they noted that, like, if they put things there, that that they're aware that Raspberry might need to be updated.
Yeah.
And I'll make a note and actually make a staff comment just about that to get it in writing.
Yeah.
Just to ask again.
Yeah, because they talk about.
I think it
like,
is somewhere,
the
but
Crossing, they talk about that in this, but they don't. That would have been the perfect place to talk about our requests, so.
So I guess what should I say, just, you have a sense of like,
Oh, they did, they addressed it, it's the last one.
what is it?
It's number 19. Address the applicant plans to meet the open spaces recreation
Mhm.
requirements. And it is literally just a little thing and they. were like,
Yes.
We want it waived,
Mhm.
thank you.
Well, they say that this meets it, which I'll ask for a cost analysis. So if I'll email about that tomorrow. I'll
Okay,
try to
yeah.
get that to you when I
But
get
they
it.
say with the additional costs,
Yeah,
yeah,
But it's-
but they don't.
that's what that is, yeah, okay.
it
yes.
may be somewhere else in it because those things are
Yeah.
dense and it is possible. But it's also possible not taking a side here.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
that you do find things like deep in the
Oh,
thing. You're like, oh, that's where that is. Okay.
So, yeah, I actually guess with that, we can then have a sense of what, how much.
Yeah, if you want to wait, I'll try to get that to you when I get it and you can make your decisions based on that.
I mean, it's, you know, happy that they're adding that. I'm just saying. This is not worth watching. But. Can we, oh geez, can we make that kind of decision without having a meeting? Because. The thought was that we could skip the July meeting.
You'd miss it with the July meeting anyway.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
Okay.
we need the letter by June 21st.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can ask around or, I don't know.
feel like we have to go this in public meeting.
mhm.
Could we hold a quick meeting for the 21st and call that our July meeting?
Yeah, we could. I don't know, do we need to vote on the letter or just vote that we will update the letter?
Can you vote tonight, Bill?
We have 3 out of 5.
Okay.
And good, because if I don't get sworn in.
Oh, cause
or-
you said the comment about Shanna or
Sure.
earlier,
Well,
but it's because
she
Angie
wasn't
wasn't there.
at
Yeah, that's what
meeting.
I realized. Yeah. I was like, oh, I didn't realize 4 was your guys' quorum, but okay, but that absolutely makes sense. Yeah, cool. I
Just a
think that
game of who was at the last meeting.
if you vote to send a letter to the planning board tonight, you're fine.
Then we can discuss offline.
And I mean, you can vote that you're going to send a letter regarding based on these plans, and you can even, yeah, I think that's more than fine.
So I make a motion to update the letter that we're going to send to the planning board, based on these plans and, we wait for.
I second that much.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, great.
I thought you were gonna not stop writing to vote for a second, Audie, and that they weren't gonna get a quorum.
Yeah, if you give me the cost analysis, that'll give me a sense of how much
Yep.
it's worth.
No, I understand. That's good to have, because that'll help them. I just, they're gonna probably want to at least deduct what it costs. Just because they're, they don't like to punish developers. That's a big thing for them.
Yeah, I know, not sure why.
I can't comment on any of that.
I mean, this development is right where it's not in
Yeah, I know, it's not,
our area.
yeah, I know, it's
or
fine,
not in our
yeah, yeah, I wish it were,
concern.
I wish it were slightly denser, but that's okay, yeah, I mean. But other than that, it's fine, it's where we want to go, it's not on the middle. I don't wanna punch them too hard, yeah. But I just feel like, it's, as you get, people are gonna move in there and they say, well, my kids aren't safe and I don't have any place for them to walk and it's just.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not sure parents can afford these houses, but
Oh, wow, yeah,
they're really expensive.
Oh, jeez.
I like 750.
Oh, they're gonna charge 750?
They are.
I thought the ones at the, on Somerset were
God,
gonna
I
be.
bought-
When you did,
Wow.
yeah, everyone is.
Wow.
Oh.
prices.
That might be the high end of it, but yeah, these are not cheap houses.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I can see why.
Is DOT gonna change the,
I don't think it is triggering traffic movement.
Oh,
oh no, I meant like, gonna lower all the, no, that, it doesn't do anything.
Lower speed limit.
Yeah. But now I do see, after the developer was talking about that, now I do see that, like, when I'm coming in and I see the people, and I'm like, oh, I see.
Mm-hmm, yeah, it's not a great area for turning.
No.
Yeah.
Strip everything.
All right,
Okay.
all right.
We have to say something to adjourn, or no? We-
oh, I guess, yes, I'm making a motion to adjourn.
Oh, yeah, I second that.
Okay.
Just,
The official here. Sorry.
no, hey, look, I remembered.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Jamie usually remembers.